Taylor Swift is a link builder. There were rumors that she would get engaged. Our client said, let's give them a free wedding venue. And then we got them 50 links. That's digital PR.
Managing multiple clients or large websites? Automate your SEO with Ally AI. Start your free trial now.
Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency.
Hello. Firstly, well done for making it back after lunch. I've been to a few of these things before and I know how much fun lunch is, so making it back, I really appreciate it. So yes, I'm Indy. I work at WeDiscover and we're a performance marketing and technology agency. For those who've seen some of our talks before, you'll know that we love first-party data, we love understanding it, and we love trying to game Google's algorithm with data as well. And I'm here today to talk to you about when it's right to send Google the wrong data. So what I find the most exciting thing about our industry and working in PPC over a decade now is that the only thing that's constant is change. We're often throwing curveballs by Google. Pretty much every year they take things away, they add new things, and we're always cynical about why they're doing it. They're trying to make money, obviously. But I find the excitement in the challenge. I mean, if everything was the same every year, I'd be pretty bored. I probably wouldn't be working in this industry. Now, a few of the things over the last 10 years that have come and gone. So customer match got introduced in 2015. In 2016, they took away right-hand side ads, which in hindsight is cleaned up the search results. The standard text ads were deprecated. Expanded text ads were launched. 2017, I'm still sore about this, but they completely brutalized exact match. And in 2021, new launches such as PMAX got rid of BMM. And then in 2022, they finally got rid of ETAs and made RSAs a standard. Now, a lot of these things, there's control that's been taken away. So 2017, exact match became, you were forced into misspellings, plurals, they could change the word order. And actually in 2021, they added where they could actually add function words to exact match. So that's one of the reasons why they got rid of broad match, because it essentially is a broad match now. And 2020, they've taken away a lot of our search terms, what we can see in the actual data itself. So it feels like we're getting control taken away. And we're increasingly having to rely on AI. So RSAs were launched because of the way that they changed exact match. It now makes sense to consolidate our structures. And the only way to still be tailored in terms of our ad messaging is through RSAs, which has been quite a good release in that sense. And PMAX obviously launched in 2021. And then in 2025 and beyond, every single year, people have been speculating that they're going to get rid of keywords. And I think it will happen, probably not as soon as we think, but we're edging towards there, things like search themes and obviously PMAX as well. And how does this make us feel? So for those who used to play The Sims, I don't know if anyone used to do this, where you used to trap Sims in a box. I know I did, but this is how Google's basically making us feel, like we're trapped with fewer and fewer solutions to action and to improve our data. But in reality, our jobs have changed. And a very long time ago, back in 2017, when I was working client-side, I had a VP of engineering join, and I vividly remember this is one of his slides in terms of data is the new oil. If we don't centralize our data and ecosystems, we won't understand, and we won't be able to action within performance marketing. And ever since, I think, since 2017 and onwards and to present day, we've been obsessed with sending the right data to Google. Like everything that's about the business, what's important to the business, we need to get it to Google. Because that's pretty much the only lever we have in terms of being able to really influence the algorithm. And often it doesn't work. Like show of hands, who here has tried PMAX, it hasn't worked for them, or feels like it hasn't worked for them? Yeah? We're doing everything that Google's telling us to do, and we're still not getting the right results. But as I said, our jobs have changed. So there's a book by Fred Valleys, who used to work at Google and now runs his own company called Optimizer. I believe he was on the first team that actually created quality score, so he knows his stuff. But he released a book called Unlevel the Playing Field, the biggest mind shift in PPC history a few years ago, which is all about the changing attitudes and the way we need to change how we do PPC. And there are three sort of core themes about our jobs that he sees, and that's PPC doctors, we need to be able to diagnose why things aren't working. Pilots, we need to be able to control the levers within the Google accounts, make sure the processes are right. And then my favorite one is the teacher. We've got to be able to teach machine learning algorithms to do the right thing for us. It's machine learning. We've got to teach it. If we don't do that, we won't get the right results. Now, take a step back. One of the problems we had with one of our clients is a company that deals with removal. So it's a marketplace that matches delivery drivers with people who need to move home. They were super focused on growth. They were backed by a VC investment firm. They had tons of money. They just wanted to dominate PPC. So when we took over their accounts, we applied the modern search structure to it. We started sending different conversion actions that were important to them, and we pumped loads of money in and got fantastic growth metrics, like 20% year on year every month. Then after about a year or so, it flipped on its head. Suddenly they wanted efficiency. Their investors wanted to see more profitability. They still wanted to see the growth. They still wanted to at least maintain it, but they wanted to do it more cheaply. So they wanted to see CPC go down. They wanted to see ROAS go up and CPA go down as well, without cutting any volume. Now, as I mentioned, we spent a good year or so revamping their entire search structure. We'd already tested out loads of bid strategies, worked out what worked best for them, what are the right conversion actions. We'd already revamped the ad copy as relevant as we could be. Of course, you can make incremental improvements to it, get marginal gains, so it wasn't going to get the results we needed to get. And then optimizing the keyword mix. So, I mean, as I mentioned, as delivery, there's not that many services or products they do, not like e-com where you might have a retailer that has hundreds of thousands of products and you can actually influence what gets served or what doesn't to get the right results. There wasn't a huge amount of options we had with their keyword mix either. So we had to do something drastic. We had to go a little bit more scorched earth in our thinking. So we edited the values of 14% of the revenue data we were sending to Google, in essence, sending the wrong data to Google. Now, why? Why would you do that? I'll take a step back and give you a few good examples of why we thought this way. So, don't know if anyone's heard of this story, but the Great Hanoi Rat Massacre of 1902 in Vietnam. Basically, the government in Vietnam, they had a big rat problem in Hanoi, and to get rid of their problem, they decided to reward people to catch and kill these rats. So they gave a monetary sum to anyone who can provide rat's tails to prove that they've killed rats. Now, what actually happened was their rat population increased massively, and they couldn't work out why. And what had actually happened is people started to gain the incentive. They started to chop the tails, but not kill the rats, and release the rats back into the wild, which then went on to produce more rats to get the more rats' tails to make more money. So they didn't get the right outcome for what they were trying to do, even though they thought they were doing the right thing. A similar thing happened in China in the late 50s, early 60s, and this was actually one of the causes of the Great Famine, where millions of people unfortunately passed away. They ran a campaign in the late 50s called the Four Pests campaign. Now, again, rats they wanted to get rid of, unlucky creatures. Also flies, mosquitoes, and strangely sparrows. And the reason why they wanted to get rid of all these pests was because they were eating all their grain. Now, Chairman Mao had been told that sparrows eat grain, which is true, but they didn't just eat grain, they also ate locusts, and locusts only ate grain. So they incentivized people to get rid of these pests, and because the sparrow population dwindled so much, the locust population increased massively and actually just ended up destroying more and more of their crops than ever before, and it was one of the causes of the Great Famine. So again, another unintended consequence of what they thought was doing the right thing. And this is known as perverse incentives. So if we take a step back to our problem, we need to reduce our CPCs and CPAs, and every year Google's always inflating the numbers as well, a lot with their initiatives. And one of the things we were trying to resolve was every time a very high value booking came in, the next 1 to 2 weeks, we saw CPCs rise quite volatile. And this was causing, obviously, a bad impression on our metrics, and we weren't seeing any additional revenue come in off the back of this sort of CPC inflation. And this happened every single time we got a really high value order, higher value booking. We were trying to work out why. And it turned out, after conversations with the client, that their sales team, unbeknownst to us, every time supply was low in a certain area, they would manually go in and boost up the premiums of the bookings and the quotes that people got for deliveries. So like 20, 30% higher than that they would normally have to pay, and people would pay it. And this was misleading Google's algorithm. Google thought it was finding the right people to drive these higher order values, but they weren't doing that. They weren't finding the people. It was the client who's kind of artificially boosting the numbers in that sense. So there's no pattern that Google could see other than looking obviously at the profile of the user, location, demographic, audience segments, trying to find patterns that weren't there, increasing the CPCs, bidding higher, trying to get more of these people, and it wasn't happening because that wasn't the reason why these high order values were coming in. Again, this is a perverse incentive. The client, we're sending data of these really high value bookings thinking it's going to lead to more. In fact, it was just increasing our costs for no additional value. So we had the rat problem, the sparrow problem, this is our problem. Now, one way we could mitigate against this is, we could add a bid cap. And we ran some analysis to make sure whether that was the right thing to do or not. And we found that capping our CPCs would actually lose us incremental value. There was no relationship between CPC and ROAS in general in terms of an average. Obviously, those 2 weeks in that volatile period, there was a negative impact. But overall, when it came out of the wash over months and years, there wasn't any loss in that. And we looked at it every percentile interval of CPCs. And this last one here is £15 to £111. You can see the average ROAS, it doesn't decrease as CPCs increase. It actually maintains. There's no relationship between how much we're paying and the ROAS we're getting overall. So instead, we wanted to ensure that we weren't losing traffic and high value bookings, but we wanted to test limiting Google's sensitivity to these bookings. And we didn't want to stop the bookings from occurring. So we could have stopped sending this data to Google every time a high value booking came on above the average, but we still wanted to send a signal to Google, yeah, you did the right thing, you targeted the right person, we got the order, we got the booking, but we didn't want them to react badly to it. And using offline conversions, we could artificially limit the value we were sending to them. So what we did was we capped the distribution instead. So we looked at the 90th, 95th percentiles and the upper limit to understand how high and how high averages we were seeing from these high value orders, and look to bring it down towards the more average that we were seeing so that Google didn't see an inflated revenue metric and reacted according to it. So at the 95th percentile, we thought it was a good sweet spot between we want not getting rid of too much of the revenue that would impact ROAS, and then about 9% of conversions were impacted. So essentially cooking the books, editing the values of 14% of the data that we're sending to Google. And the results, so we saw a 9% decrease in CPC by rolling this out, 26% increase in ROAS, and CPA also decreasing significantly. So it worked out well. And if you do want to hear a bit more about that, we have the case study on our website, which goes into a bit more of the technicalities of how we assess the data and how we did it. I will post this on socials later as well, so if you do miss it, don't worry. And this is a very unique circumstance. So this strategy might not work for your clients or your business, but that's not the point of this talk. The point is, don't just get frustrated at Google and say, PMAX is crap, broad match is crap. Try and understand why you're getting bad performance and what can you do to improve it beyond just changing your bids or changing your ad copy. And trying to identify if there are any perverse incentives that you are sending to Google, you think you're sending the right thing, try and understand what impact that could be having. And that might mean speaking to various people in the business. It could be analytics teams, business intelligence, sales teams, not just your main contacts at your clients, or if you work in-house, you probably have easier access to these teams to try and understand exactly how the business works, how it makes money, and what impact that might have on the data that you send to Google. Fundamentally, what you choose to send Google or choose not to send Google is probably one of the last major levers we have to impact performance. And yes, Google, they are trying to make money, that they are incentivized by that. They have their shareholders that they're beholden to. But it's in their interest that we also make money off the back of it if we're going to use their products. So again, there was a great talk by Omar earlier on today. He talked about the inputs that you put in. Absolutely crucial to understand what are the right inputs to try and get the right performance out of Google. And if you can find that happy medium, we can both make money. And I mentioned before the strategy might not work for you. I also mentioned before about capping CPCs wouldn't have worked for us in this instance. We have found capping CPCs with portfolio bidding work really well with other clients. And one of the speakers later on, Nathan, actually built us a script to basically take that data from Google Ads, understand at what point you could set a max CPC and not cut off incremental revenue and traffic that's important to your business. So you don't need data scientists or analysts to pull this data for you. We've built a free script for you guys to get that as well. And again, if you missed the link, don't worry, I'll post it later on as well. And yeah, if you want to hear more about what we're doing at WeDiscover, we work with quite a few different unique case studies around data, always posting about it on LinkedIn mostly. So yeah, feel free to add me. The deck will be on Speaker Deck as well. And yeah, don't send Google perverse incentives. That's the one thing you can't do if you want to see results. Thank you.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.